In 1999, a giddy sea sponge jumped onto Nickelodeon's schedule and has stayed there for 19 years. The creation of Stephen Hillenburg, SpongeBob SquarePants is unquestionably one of the most popular and recognizable cartoon characters in animation history. And as somebody who was an avid watcher during those early seasons, I thought it would be interesting to understand why SpongeBob has resonated for so many. Before he was an animator, Hillenburg was a marine biologist at the Orange County Marine Institute. And with SpongeBob SquarePants, he sought to combine his two passions and create a show involving the misadventures of a city of sea creatures. The character designs are a key reason for the show's success. Hillenburg seems to take heavy inspiration from old-school animated characters in designing the citizens of Bikini Bottom, with their simple eyes and geometric shapes. Bikini Bottom works as a backdrop for the various characters, and like a real city, that many story ideas can be built around. At the center is, of course, SpongeBob. The first second we see him, we know he's going to be a simple-minded character, albeit one with an optimistic streak, and yet he's still written with a decent amount of character traits. While he is a mostly content and somewhat dim-witted sponge, he still manages to experience other emotions like jealousy, sadness, anger, and fear. SpongeBob can run the risk of being annoying enough that Squidward's point of view can be rather understandable. Yet it's a credit to Tom Kenny's voice work that somehow SpongeBob manages to win us over in the end. The thing that I often wondered about SpongeBob when I was younger is whether he was a child. He sounds like one, and the other characters tend to treat him like he was a minor. But he also has his mortgage on that pineapple house, works a steady job at the Krabby Patty, and is taking driving lessons. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie does directly address this, with the central theme revolving around SpongeBob attempting to prove his maturity, even though other characters refer to him as a kid. Even Nickelodeon thought he was a child when they asked Hillenburg to put SpongeBob in school, and he solved this by having him in driving school instead. The second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, also took us inside of his brain, which is a candy-colored and sugary world. His childlike innocence and inherent friendliness is further shown with his friendship with Patrick, as he's probably the only person in Bikini Bottom who can tolerate that starfish's stupidity. Not to mention happily working alongside Squidward, who would rather have nothing to do with SpongeBob. There's certainly episodes where I just want to tell SpongeBob to just leave Squidward alone and let him play his clarinet in peace. And then there's Plankton, who is continually trying to put the Krusty Krab out of business and steal the Krabby Patty formula, and like a chump, SpongeBob keeps thinking he will change. Come on, SpongeBob, he's been trying to steal the formula for 230 episodes and counting. He's one step away from stealing King Neptune's crown and framing it on Mr. Krabs. I think a large part of SpongeBob SquarePants' appeal is the surreal humor that is littered throughout the series. One of the few rules imposed on the show is to keep the whole thing innocent, but otherwise there's no fear from Hillenburg and his team to take the characters in all sorts of crazy directions. In one episode, the characters go up on land and become dried animals on sticks. There's another episode where SpongeBob and Patrick learn some swear words, and they're censored with dolphin sounds. Bikini Bottom also has a serious nuclear problem, as there are constant explosions, although this might be because the show is set in an atoll near the Marshall Islands. Look it up. Occasional episodes will also have Tom Kenny show up as a pirate who hosts a public access children's show that introduces SpongeBob episodes. This is also a show where a squirrel resides underwater and hangs out with other sea creatures, and we just sort of buy it. Oh, and Plankton is married to a computer named Karen. Mr. Krabs' daughter is a whale, and David Hasselhoff is secretly a speedboat. Describing all these things makes SpongeBob SquarePants sound really strange, and yet it all makes sense within the context of the series. The stupidity of the characters can also lead to a lot of humorous interactions that Hillenburg and the writers take full advantage of. An episode where SpongeBob and Patrick think a caterpillar has been eaten by a butterfly and are completely horrified by it is quite ingeniously illustrated with close-ups of real-life butterflies. In the episode Opposite Day, Patrick and SpongeBob pretend to be Squidward to the constant annoyance of a real estate agent. And in Band Geeks, Patrick asks the most important question of our times.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Of course, SpongeBob can sometimes outsmart those around him. There are, of course, the multiple times he has thwarted Plankton's schemes, and the funniest SpongeBob face and delivery from Tom Kenny comes when he encounters Squidward finally giving in to the temptation of eating a Krabby Patty and happily rubs it in.
Listen, I am telling you! You better listen to me, SpongeBob!
You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
Of course, the major reason SpongeBob SquarePants is still going on is how much of a cash cow it remains to this day. Nickelodeon kept the show going even after Hillenburg initially left his position as showrunner and will continue producing new episodes forever. It's become one of the animation mainstays, like The Simpsons, with new generations getting into the show even as the fanbase moves on to other series, or declare new episodes the worst thing ever and the show stopped being good however many years ago. To which I say, just move on and let people enjoy it. And yes, I have to mention the multiple memes that occasionally pop up. Most of these memes are just random, like Patrick looking menacing or SpongeBob taking a breath. Why is that a meme? At least steamed hams I can understand. The latest example of SpongeBob's impact on popular culture, though, is a SpongeBob SquarePants musical on Broadway. When this was announced, a lot of people scoffed at the idea and declared that Broadway was losing its prestige. Really? A SpongeBob SquarePants musical? The Great White Way is sure becoming a tourist trap. But I have to say, I listened to all the songs and they're really good. The producers asked a whole bunch of songwriters, including John Legend, They Might Be Giants, David Bowie, and even Tom Kenny to contribute songs to the show, and the various musical styles fit well with the characters. From what I've seen, I also like how they've adapted the familiar designs to work on the human actors. Would I call myself a big SpongeBob fan? Not necessarily. It's amusing, but not a show I find myself tuning in to watch like I did when I was younger. But do I understand its appeal? Absolutely. And it's great Steve Hillenburg's Little Sponge has managed to strike a chord with so many people. See you next time.